In church, we're going to spend 5 minutes with God together today. And today I was thinking back to my own personal faith life. And as I reflect back of my time since I became a Christian, there's all these phases of spiritual growth I went through, right? I first came to understand the truth of the gospel when I was a teenager in high school. But it was in my college years where I really started paying attention to the people in my life who truly, I believe, lived out their faith. They were these great examples of what it meant to follow Jesus. And this was a time that I was actively trying to live like Jesus because I'd heard the truth of the gospel and I wanted to do what God said. And so I was trying to make choices in my life through the lens of my faith. How does this faith actually impact the choices I make on a daily basis? And I had no idea how to do it. I had no idea how to take what I was learning in church and learning in Bible study and apply it to my daily life. So, what I did is I looked at the people around me. I looked at my mentors who invested in my spiritual journey, and I would look at my peers who I knew were good Christians, not perfect people, but also trying to do the same thing I was, which was just to live a life that honored God, and to do what Jesus taught. And as I watched these people day to day, I came to understand what faith looked like as it was lived out practically. Again, I didn't know what I was doing, but they seemed to have at least something figured out. And every person's unique and every person has their own personality. And so everybody looked different as I would watch. But the longer you watch, there's these things that just start to emerge that they have in common. There's a few things every single Christ follower kind of has the same if you watch close. And the one quality that started to emerge was that all the people I was watching, the people I'd spend my daily life with and the people I'd learned from, they were all very humble people. But it was a really weird kind of humility that I'd never thought about before. It really changed the way that I thought about this idea of humility because I used to think that being humble or humility meant that you just thought less of yourself. That if you thought too much of yourself or thought you were too great, you weren't being humble. And so the idea was to almost come down on yourself or self-deprecate or to think less of who you were. That humility was an almost sort of weakness, and I would compare that quality to people that I saw as strong or confident or ambitious, and I could never be those things because I had to be humble, or I was too humble maybe to be those things. And for the first time, I could see that I was getting this wrong. I was absolutely getting this idea of humility incorrect because I would see these people with qualities I admired, qualities that I thought I could never have, and yet they were still able to live out what appeared to be a fully authentic faith. And I thought those things couldn't coexist, at least in my head. I didn't know how to live out a full faith and still not think less of myself. And the truth is that when I started to look at that, everything changed. And what I realized, and this was the truth that changed my mind, it was a major shift in the way I saw myself and the way I saw God. Being humble doesn't mean you aren't important. Being humble does not mean you are not important to other people, to God, to your family, to your friends, to your loved ones. Being humble does not mean you aren't important. It doesn't mean that you don't matter. Being humble just means you aren't concerned with how important you appear to the people around you. And that's a major shift, right? Being humble means you know you're important to God, but you also know that that's enough for you. That this idea that you're important to God, that's enough to carry you through. And what happens when you learn that truth is it gives you the freedom to think more about other people in your life because your focus shifts. As soon as you understand that side of humility, you're able to consider others above yourself. You're able to pray for them, to share acts of kindness, and not just kindness, but kindness with no expectation of return on your kindness. You become a true friend to someone who needs it. The Bible says we're supposed to do it this way. In Philippians chapter 2, verse 3, it says, you're not supposed to do anything out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves. Again, it doesn't mean you're not important. It's just instructions of how you're supposed to see others. Humble people are aware of the needs of the people around them. Humble people continue the work that Jesus started in the world when he came. And these humble people, they don't keep track of what they've done for others. They don't keep score. They don't look at themselves as trying to fill like a good deeds tank, right? Because humble people know above all else, they are important to God, and nothing they do is going to change that for better or for worse. You are important to God, and that is all that matters. So today, don't forget, you are important to God. And no matter what else happens, that is all you need to get through the day today. To remember and understand that you are important to God. That's all you need. And since that's all you need, that means you've got plenty of extra you that you can use to love others. So go and do that today. Love you, church. Can't wait to see you this weekend.